So Dext is the extraction tool that we use, and personally I believe it's the best one out there on the market, hence we use it. There are others, so feel free to go and look at all the others. So you've got HubDoc, Auto Entry, and there's probably more as well out there. If you look in the apps marketplace and just try and look for extraction, you'll be able to see data extraction, you'll be able to see all the other ones that are potentially out there. But the main three are HubDoc, Dext, and Auto Entry. We use Dext in Pink Pig, hence why we're using that in this course. So when you first set up your Dext Prepare, it will look very similar to this. Now this is our agent account, so it will look slightly different to yours, but the principles and the majority of it will all be the same as what you see. So this is what you'll see initially when you first log on. You probably may set this up on your phone, download the app and set it all up on your phone, but I would really recommend coming into here to get it all set up because it's easier to do all the settings on a browser. I will cover the mobile app in a separate video, but for now I'd recommend doing as much as possible on the browser because it is a lot. You can access all of the features, you can see all the features, and it's just easier to understand and learn and use. But again, I will show you what the capabilities are within the app as well. So when we first come on, we want to get it all connected up. So you'd come down here to connections and integrations. There's loads that you can integrate with. We are focusing on the Xero Dext integration. So I'm going to come down to Xero, connect software. Now again, because of this being a multi-account, it's going to look slightly different. So I'm just going to pick up the one we need. So yeah, I'm just going to pick up demo. So what it will do is, now this is already connected to our Xero account, but what it would do normally is it would ask you to connect to your Xero. So it asks you to pop in your Xero login details. It'll probably go through the two-step factor authentication if you've got that set up, and then you can connect to the company itself. So allow access. And this again is only because we are a multi-company, so demo. So that's now connecting to the demo company in Xero. You can set additional integrations if you need to. And you can also come up here to refresh and change and disconnect and everything. This is where you need to start putting all the settings in. So we're going to start with the basic settings. So if you're a multi-currency, then you want to be able to publish in multiple currencies, but if you're not, then turn it off. So if you've got multi-currency Xero, this is one of the things that you want it for. So you want to turn it on. You then set where you want things to go to. So you want a default publish to destination for costs, which will be purchases. Where do you want them to go? Do you want them draft, awaiting approval, or awaiting payment? And this is really good if you've got that multi-layer of approval in your business. You may want them to go into awaiting approval so that somebody can approve it as a second step before it goes into awaiting payment. If it's just you, then you want it to go straight to awaiting payment. And then you can do the same for sales items. And also for expense reports, so you want them to go to purchases, and you want them to go as awaiting approval as well. This is a really good one. Warn me when creating a new supplier. So we've talked previously in contacts about duplicate suppliers. This happens a lot when it comes through from Dext because they sometimes don't extract the full name from the receipt. So I would recommend turning this on to stop, where possible, those duplicated suppliers. Each of them has got the little help button. So if you're not sure what each of them means, you can go in and have a look. If you want all the additional notes and history showing in Xero, you can push it through as well. I personally don't find we need to because it's in here, but you may want to just have it all as a sole source of truth in Xero, so push it through. And again, the autofill payment. So if you can automatically match it up with something in the bank, it will automatically do it. So again, you can decide whether you want to have that on or off, and you can play around with it. So you can start off with it off, just getting used to it, come back and turn it on at a later date, and so on. What I would recommend with a lot of the auto things is to get used to using it first before you start auto publishing and everything, because you just want to make sure that everything's working how you want it to first before you turn on all the auto. But obviously the auto stuff is where you get the most efficiencies. When you come down to tax data, this is automatically turned on, which is what you want because it's all the tax details and you want to be able to drop down and use the tax list. Where if you're VAT registered, and you also want this to change to allow Dext Prepare to decide if you're VAT registered. If you are not VAT registered, then I would recommend you'd have Xero set to no VAT. So I would recommend you set it to allow Xero to calculate, which means that if for any reason something auto publishes through or you don't catch a VAT setting, it will go through to Xero still with no VAT on, so you don't then have to change it in Xero. And if you are not VAT registered, I'd also recommend turning that off as well, because you don't need to worry about it. But we're going to use VAT registered as an example to get the full experience. So again, I'm going to change it here to allow Dext Prepare to decide. You can also use these supplier tax rates, and these will bring across any tax rates that have been applied in Xero. So if you've got additional ones in Xero and you need to bring them through, then you can. And then you've got the auto publishing. So as I said before, I wouldn't turn this on until you are 100% happy with the way it's set up, with your rules and everything first, just to give you that added confidence. But when you are ready, you can turn it to publish. But again, I would take out exceptions. So you only want invoices and receipts to go through. You don't want ATM withdrawals to go through or any of these other things, because they're just going to potentially muck up. I would literally just leave on these two. But if you've got confidence in other bits, then you can, but you definitely don't want statements going through. Credit notes actually are fine, but you don't want the rest of it going through because it potentially won't be how you want it to be. One of the good things here is you'll see there is no save button. It automatically saves as you go. So once you've done that, the next thing to do is to come into profile, and you can set up some default settings here as well. So you've got receipts, you want to mark them as paid or not, invoices, paid or not, and so on. Personally, again, I'd leave these as they are for now, and you can change these later once you get used to it. And again, the due dates, you can put an overall due date, default, but also if all of your suppliers are going to be different, then it's probably not worth doing. And the same for sales invoices. And the sales invoice probably is worth doing because you've probably got a set default, so you can change that. Number of days after the invoice date. So, if you're going to use the CSV downloads, you can choose if you want it to be the net amount or not. This one is really a good one as well. Is at the moment it's set to automatically decide if things are a duplicate or not. I would have that set to review, because otherwise it gets a bit too happy and quite often just decides something's a duplicate and it's not. And these are especially for things that are repeating monthly and may not necessarily have all the details in the email that you forward on. But they may just think it's a duplicate because it's the same amount last month from the same person. So I'd always put that to review to be 100% sure. And again, I would leave the rest of this for now until you start getting used to it, and then you can come through and you can have a play and see what you do and don't want. The only thing else I would change is if with Dext Prepare, you can extract a bank line statement. So when you connect your bank, if you're going back too far for your bank to import, you can extract PDF copies of your bank statements to then import into Xero. But what you need to do before you put it in is to make sure that it's set to Xero CSV UK dates. And I'm assuming everyone watching this is UK, but if you are a US, then obviously choose US dates, but UK dates. So make sure that when it extracts it, it puts it into the right format to throw straight into Xero. The only other thing you'll need out of here is your users. You're going to need your email in address. So if you come into users, this is also where you can add more users, and you can also link them to Xero as well if you want to, but that's not essential. But what you will need is these details. So if you're sending documents into Xero, you're going to want to use these email addresses. So if you've got an email receipt, you're going to want to use this one. And if you're using it to send in your sales invoices for any reason, you're going to want it on this one. So I would copy that and add that as a contact in your email, so you've always got it easy to use. So I'm just going to take a copy of that because we are going to use that a bit later. So that is all the settings, and then we'll go through the bits as and when we need to in the latest videos.